The unexpected assignment. David Martinez stared at the holographic display floating above his desk, his coffee growing cold as he processed the impossible message. The Galactic Harmony Institute's AI had just assigned him 2 wives. 2 alien wives. The notification blinked cheerfully, as if it were announcing a promotion rather than turning his life upside down. "This has to be a mistake," he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. As a communications engineer on the orbital station New Haven, David had seen his share of strange things, but this topped them all. The AI's reasoning appeared in flowing text. Human males exhibit elevated stress hormones when isolated. 4. Optimal psychological stability. Dual companionship recommended. David's friend Jake had warned him about signing up for the Institute's compatibility program. "It's just a dating service with fancy algorithms," Jake had said. What could go wrong? Now David knew exactly what could go wrong. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. 2 figures materialized in his living quarters, shimmering into existence through the transport beam. David's breath caught in his throat. They were breathtakingly beautiful, with skin that shifted between silver and pale blue depending on the light, and hair that cascaded in waves of deep purple. Eyes held an otherworldly wisdom, like looking into twin galaxies. The first one stepped forward, her movements graceful and fluid. "Greetings, David Martinez. I am Zara of the Valerian people." Her voice carried a musical quality that made his name sound like poetry. The second woman smiled warmly. "And I am Nora, Zara's bond sister. We are honored to be chosen as your life companions." She tilted her head curiously. "Though you appear distressed, are we not to your liking?" David stammered, nearly dropping his coffee mug. No, you're both ... It's not that. I just wasn't expecting... I said I needed stability, but 2 wives? That's not exactly stable where I come from." Zara and Nora exchanged glances, their expressions shifting to concern. "On Velaria, bonded trios are common," Zara explained gently. "The AI analyzed your psychological profile and determined you would thrive with dual support systems." "Are human customs different?" "Very different," David admitted, gesturing for them to sit on his modest couch. The apartment suddenly felt cramped with 3 people, though their presence wasn't unwelcome. On Earth, marriage is typically between 2 people. This is all new territory for me. Nora leaned forward, her silver blue skin catching the artificial starlight from the window. "We do not wish to cause you discomfort. The bonding ceremony can be delayed until you feel ready." "Bonding ceremony?" David's voice cracked slightly. "A traditional Valerian ritual," Zara explained, her purple hair shifting as she nodded. "It creates an emotional and mental connection between bonded partners. The AI believes it will stabilize your stress responses and improve your work performance." David looked between them, noting the genuine care in their expressions. Despite the bizarre circumstances, they seemed genuinely concerned about his well-being. "What does this bonding involve exactly?" "Sharing of thoughts, emotions, and life experiences," Nora said softly. "It creates harmony between minds. Many humans who have bonded with Valerians report increased happiness and reduced anxiety." The rational part of David's mind screamed that this was insane. The lonely part, the part that had been eating dinner alone for 3 years since his last relationship ended, whispered that maybe the AI knew something he didn't. These women seemed kind, intelligent, and surprisingly understanding of his confusion. "I need time to think," David said finally. Zara smiled, the expression transforming her already beautiful features into something radiant. "Of course, we have been assigned quarters near yours. When you are ready to learn more about us, we will be waiting." As they prepared to leave, Nora paused at the door. "David Martinez, know that we did not choose this assignment lightly. AI showed us your profile, your loneliness, your dedication to others' well-being. We requested specifically to be matched with you. After they left, David sat in stunned silence. The AI hadn't just randomly assigned him companions. They had chosen him as much as he might choose them. The thought both terrified and thrilled. Him in ways he couldn't yet understand. Getting to know each other, the next morning brought a gentle chime at David's door. He opened it to find Zara holding a steaming cup of something that smelled like cinnamon and starlight, if starlight had a scent. "Good morning, David Martinez. I brought you kaffe, a traditional Valerian morning beverage. Nora is preparing breakfast." In the communal kitchen, Zara's smile was radiant in the artificial morning light cycling through the station. David accepted the cup gratefully, inhaling the exotic aroma. "Just David is fine, and thank you. This smells amazing." He took a sip and felt warmth spread through his chest, along with a subtle tingling sensation. "What's in this?" "Spices from our homeworld, and a mild telepathic enhancer to help with morning clarity," Zara said casually, then noticed David's alarmed expression. "Oh, do not worry. It only sharpens existing thoughts, not read them." "Very mild." David nearly choked on his second sip. "Telepathic enhancer? You might have mentioned that before I drank it." Zara's skin shifted to a deeper blue, which David was beginning to realize indicated embarrassment. "Forgive me. I forget that humans are not accustomed to such things. The effect will fade in an hour." As they walked to the communal kitchen, David found his senses heightened. The colors seemed more vivid, the sounds of the station's machinery more rhythmic and almost musical. He could sense Zara's emotions beside him, nervousness mixed with hope and genuine affection. Nora looked up from the cooking station, her face lighting up when she saw them. Perfect timing. "I have prepared a fusion breakfast human eggs with Valerian moonfruit." She gestured proudly to a plate that looked surprisingly appetizing. "You learned to cook human food overnight?" David asked, impressed. "We studied your dietary requirements and cultural preferences," Nora explained, her cheeks shifting to a soft pink hue. "We wish to make you comfortable while sharing our own traditions." As they ate, David found himself relaxing. The sisters were easy to talk to, asking thoughtful questions about his work and sharing stories about their homeworld. Velaria sounded like a paradise of floating cities and crystal forests, where the inhabitants lived in harmony with both technology and nature. "What made you leave?" David asked, genuinely curious. Zara's expression grew thoughtful. "Adventure. Partly, but also duty. Our people believe in forming bonds across species to strengthen galactic unity. When the AI indicated a human male needed companionship, we volunteered." "You volunteered to marry a stranger?" David couldn't hide his amazement. "Not exactly a stranger," Nora said softly. "The AI shared your personality profile, your dreams, your fears. We spent weeks studying who you are, David Martinez. We knew you before we met you." The intimacy of that revelation made David's chest tighten. "That seems unfair. I know almost nothing about you, too." "And ask us anything," Zara challenged gently. David thought for a moment. "What do you do for fun? What are your dreams? What are you afraid of?" Nora laughed, the sound like silver bells. "I love creating music from crystalline resonances. My dream is to compose a symphony that bridges all species' musical traditions. And I am afraid of deep water, which is embarrassing for a Valerian, since we have floating cities." Zara nodded thoughtfully. "I study ancient languages and historical texts. I dream of discovering lost civilizations among the stars. And I fear being forgotten, leaving no mark on the universe." David felt something shift in his chest, the telepathic enhancer amplifying his growing connection to them. "I work with communication systems because I believe in connecting people across impossible distances. I dream of building a network That links every sentient being in the galaxy. And I'm afraid of dying alone. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable, but profound. David realized I might have been more accurate than he'd initially thought. These women understood him on a level he'd never experienced before. The bonding ceremony, David said finally. Tell me more about it. Zara and Nora exchanged a look of hope and excitement. It would be our honor to share that knowledge with you, Zara said as they cleaned up breakfast together. David found himself looking forward to learning more. Maybe stability didn't have to mean conventional. Maybe the universe had a sense of humor, giving him exactly what he needed in the most unexpected way possible. The bonding begins 3 days later. David found himself in the station's meditation garden, surrounded by bioluminescent plants that responded to emotional states. Zara and Nora had spent hours explaining the bonding ceremony, and despite his nervousness, David felt ready to take this unprecedented step. Are you certain about this, David? Nora asked gently, her hand resting on his shoulder. Once the bond forms, it cannot be easily broken. We will share emotions, thoughts, and life experiences. David looked at both women, marveling at how natural their presence had become in just a few days. I've never been more certain about anything. These past few days with you both have been the happiest I've felt in years. Zara smiled, her skin shifting to warm golden hues. The ceremony is simple, but profound. We join hands, open our minds, and let our life energies intertwine. The plants here will help amplify and stabilize the connection. They formed a triangle, hands linked, sitting cross-legged on the soft grass. The moment their connection completed, David felt a gentle tingling that started in his fingertips and spread throughout his body. Close your eyes and breathe deeply, Zara whispered. Let your mind open like a flower. David obeyed, feeling his consciousness expand. Suddenly, he wasn't alone in his head. Warm, loving presences surrounded his thoughts like gentle embraces. He could feel Nora's musical soul, her mind like a symphony of crystalline notes. Zara's intellectual curiosity flowed through him, her thoughts organized like a vast library of beautiful memories. We can feel your loneliness, Nora whispered, and David sensed tears in her mental voice. So much isolation, so much yearning for connection. And your strength, Zara added. The way you've helped others despite your own pain. Your dedication to bringing people together across the stars. Through the bond, David experienced flashes of their lives. Nora's childhood in crystal caves, filled with natural music. Zara's adventures exploring ancient ruins on distant worlds. Their decision to leave home, not just for adventure, but because they sensed a kindred spirit calling across the galaxy. You both felt me before we met? David asked through the mental connection. Strong souls call to each other, Zara explained. The AI simply confirmed what our hearts already knew. As the ceremony deepened, David felt his own memories flowing. To them, his childhood dreams of space travel, the loss of his parents that drove him to the stars, his years of helping establish communications networks between isolated colonies, his deep desire to matter, to make a difference in the vast universe. You already matter so much. Nora's mental voice was warm with affection. Every connection you've built has brought people together. You've prevented wars, reunited families, spread knowledge across light years. The bonding reached its crescendo, and David felt something fundamental shift in his consciousness. Where once there had been one voice in his head, now there were 3, distinct but harmonious. He could feel Zara's analytical mind and Nora's creative spirit, but they didn't overwhelm his own personality. Instead, they complemented it, filling spaces he hadn't even known were empty. When they opened their eyes, the garden around them was glowing more brightly than ever, the plants responding to their combined emotional energy. David looked at his Wives, for that's what they truly were now, and saw his own wonder reflected in their expressions. "How do you feel?" Zara asked aloud, though David could sense her curiosity through their bond. "Complete," David said honestly. "For the first time in my life, I feel truly complete." Through their shared connection, he felt their joy, their relief, their deep love for him. But more than that, he felt their individual personalities more clearly than ever. Nora's playful spirit and gentle compassion, Zara's fierce intelligence and protective nature. "The bond will strengthen over time," Nora explained, her hand still in his. "We'll learn to share thoughts selectively, to give each other privacy when needed, but never to be truly alone again." David squeezed both their hands. "I understand now why the AI paired us. You're not just companions or wives. You're the missing pieces of my soul." As they walked back to their quarters together, David marveled at how natural it felt to have two bonds instead of one. Their love didn't compete, but complemented, creating something stronger and more beautiful than any of them could have achieved alone. The AI's unconventional wisdom had given him not just stability, but a love beyond anything he'd ever imagined possible. Challenges and growth. 2 weeks into their bonded life, David faced his first real test. His supervisor, Commander Hayes, called him into her office with a stern expression that immediately put David on edge. "Martinez, I've been hearing interesting reports about your new living situation," Hayes said, not looking up from her datapad. "2 alien wives? That's quite unconventional, even for our progressive station policies." David felt Zara and Nora's concern through their bond, even though they were in their quarters several decks away. "My personal relationships don't interfere with my work performance, Commander. If anything, my efficiency has improved." Hayes finally looked up, her expression skeptical. "That's exactly what concerns me. Your productivity has increased by 30%. Your error rate has dropped to nearly 0. And you've solved 3 communication problems that stumped our entire engineering team. That kind of sudden improvement raises questions about outside influence." Through the bond, David felt Nora's flash of hurt and Zara's surge of protective anger. He took a deep breath, drawing on their strength while maintaining his own composure. "Commander, the Valerian bonding process enhances natural abilities by reducing stress and increasing mental clarity. It's not artificial enhancement. It's allowing me to function at my true potential. That's what worries me," Hayes said bluntly. "If this bonding can affect human performance so dramatically, what other effects might it have? What if it compromises your loyalty to Earth?" David felt his own anger rising now, mixed with his wife's indignation. "My loyalty has never been stronger. The bond doesn't change who I am. It helps me be the best version of myself." Hayes studied him for a long moment. "I'm ordering a full psychological evaluation. Until then, you're restricted to basic maintenance duties only." As David left the office, he felt his wife's emotional support wrapping around him like a warm embrace. When he reached their quarters, both women were waiting with concerned expressions. "We felt everything through the bond," Nora said, pulling him into a gentle hug. "I'm sorry our presence has caused you trouble." "Don't apologize for being who you are," David said firmly. "Hayes is just afraid of what she doesn't understand." Zara paced their living room, her skin cycling through agitated colors. "This is our fault. We should have been more careful about how the bond affected your work performance." "No," David said, catching her hand to stop her pacing. "This is exactly why the AI paired us. My work has improved because I'm happier, more focused, less anxious. That's what love does. It makes us better." Over the following days, David underwent extensive psychological testing while maintaining his restricted duties. Through it all, Zara and Nora provided unwavering support, though David could sense their growing worry about being separated from him. What if they decide the bond is dangerous? Nora asked one evening as they shared dinner. What if they try to break it? They can't, Zara said confidently, though David felt her underlying fear. Valerian bonds are permanent once formed, but they could transfer you to another station, away from us. David reached across the table, taking both their hands. That won't happen. I won't let it happen. The breakthrough came when the station faced a critical emergency. A solar storm had damaged the communication array connecting New Haven to 3 outer colonies. Without repairs, the colonies would be cut off for months, potentially facing supply shortages and medical emergencies. The engineering team worked for 18 hours without success. The damage was too complex, the signal pathways too intricate to trace manually. David watched from the sidelines, restricted to basic duties, until Commander Hayes finally approached him with obvious reluctance. Martinez, we need your help. The communication array is beyond our current capabilities. David felt his wife's encouragement through the bond, their love giving him confidence. I'll need to access the quantum resonance frequencies. Through the bond, I might be able to sense the signal disruptions more accurately. Hayes hesitated. This is exactly what I was afraid of relying on alien enhancements. It's not alien. Enhancement, David said firmly. It's human intuition amplified by love and support. Isn't that what partnerships are supposed to do, make us stronger? Working with Zara's analytical abilities and Nora's intuitive understanding of resonance patterns, David traced the complex signal pathways in his mind. The solution came to him in a flash of inspiration, not from alien technology, but from human creativity enhanced by emotional support. Within 4 hours, communication was restored to all 3 colonies. The engineering team watched in amazement as David's unconventional approach succeeded where traditional methods had failed. A new future together. 6 months after the bonding ceremony, David stood in the observation deck, watching a transport ship dock with New Haven Station. The past months had transformed not just his life, but his understanding of what family could mean. Nervous? Zara asked, joining him at the viewport. Her skin had developed a permanent warm golden undertone since their bonding, which the medical team attributed to prolonged happiness. Excited, David corrected, feeling Nora's anticipation. Through their bond as she finished preparations in their expanded quarters. I never thought I'd be eager to meet my in-laws. Through the bond, he felt both women's amusement at his terminology. Valerian family structures were more complex than Earth customs, but David had grown comfortable navigating their traditions. The transport disgorged its passengers into the docking bay, and David immediately spotted the delegation of Valerian elders. They moved with the same fluid grace as his wives, their skin shifting through colors that David had learned to read as easily as facial expressions. Elder Chiron, Zara, and Nora's parental figure approached with arms extended in the traditional Valerian greeting. David had practiced this moment for weeks, knowing how important it was to his wives that their family approve of their unprecedented bonding. David Martinez, Chiron said in accented standard, we have felt your presence through our daughters. Joy, you honor our people with your acceptance of our ways. David bowed in the Valerian style, hands pressed together at his chest. The honor is mine, Elder Chiron. Your daughters have given me a gift beyond measure. The formal greeting dissolved into warm embraces as more family members arrived. Through the bond, David felt his wife's overwhelming happiness at seeing their loved ones accept him so readily. The next few days were a whirlwind of cultural exchange. David learned Valerian games, tasted exotic foods that challenged his palate, and listened to stories of their homeworld that painted pictures more vivid than any hologram. In return, he shared human traditions, teaching them earth games and cooking meals from his grandmother's recipes. But the most significant moment came during a formal ceremony in the station's main amphitheater. Commander Hayes had approved a celebration recognizing successful interspecies bonding, and representatives from a dozen worlds had come to witness what many considered a breakthrough in galactic relations. Today, we celebrate more than a union between individuals, Elder Kyring announced to the gathered crowd. We celebrate the proof that love transcends species, that understanding conquers fear, and that the universe becomes smaller when hearts grow larger. David stood between Zara and Nora, overwhelmed by the sea of faces representing worlds he'd never imagined visiting. Through the bond, he felt his wife's pride and love, but also something new, a sense of belonging to something greater than themselves. David Martinez, Elder Kyring continued, you have shown that humans possess the emotional capacity for complex bonding that we Valerians value so highly. Your love for our daughters has created ripples that will spread across the galaxy. After the ceremony, as they celebrated with friends and family, David found himself in conversation with Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the xenopsychologist who had overseen his evaluation months earlier. I owe you an apology, Dr. Tanaka said. When Commander Hayes first reported your dramatic performance improvement, I assumed we were dealing with some form of mental manipulation. I've never been happier to be wrong. The I knew what it was. Doing, David replied, watching Zara demonstrate Valerian crystal singing to a group of fascinated children. It understood that humans and Valerians are compatible in ways we never imagined. Speaking of the AI, Dr. Tanaka said with a smile, have you heard about the requests flooding in? Hundreds of humans are now applying for Valerian bonding matches. Your success has opened doors across the galaxy. David felt a surge of satisfaction. His individual happiness had become a bridge between species, exactly what he'd always dreamed of achieving through his communication work. Later that evening, as the celebration wound down, David stood on their private balcony with Zara and Nora, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed impossibly distant. Do you ever regret it? Nora asked softly. Giving up the traditional human life you might have had? David considered the question, feeling the warmth of their bond surrounding his thoughts. I gave up loneliness for love, isolation for connection, and uncertainty for purpose. The only regret I have is that it took an AI to show me what I was missing. And what about children? Zara asked, a question that had been growing in importance as their bond deepened. Human-Valerian hybrids are theoretically possible, but it's never been attempted. David felt their combined hope and nervousness through the bond. It was a conversation they'd been building toward for weeks, all three of them sensing that their love was ready to expand in new directions. I want to build a family with you, David said simply. Whatever form that takes, however we make it work, I want to create something beautiful together. Through the bond, he felt their overwhelming joy, their relief that he shared their dreams. For the future, as they embraced under the artificial stars of the observation deck, David marveled at how completely his life had transformed. The AI had promised him stability, but it had given him so much more. It had given him love that transcended species, purpose that spanned star systems, and a future bright with infinite possibilities. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, three hearts bonded as one, proving that the universe was smaller and more connected than anyone had dared to imagine.